Church of Columbus. My name is Kristen Hartman. My pronouns are she, her, and I have been entrusted with the honor of serving on your board of trustees. Woo. I am a tall, white, fat, femme millennial with brown hair and blue eyes. Today I'm wearing an awesome white shirt and a very cool cat brooch. Our speakers provide visual descriptions to welcome people with visual impairments and those listening online. We're excited to be in community with you today. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and move to a seat in the middle of your section to leave aisle seats open for those with accessibility needs. Thank you. If you're visiting for the first time on this extremely blustery day, stop by the welcome table to pick up a visitor gift with more information about our community. Look for the Getting to Know UU sign in Beach Hall. That's in the gallery, the big space with all the tables and people, after the service to learn more about our congregation. And everyone is welcome to come chat with me or another board member after the service. There is a lot going on here at First UU. Please see your order of service or this week's Sunday announcement email where you can read details about next week's First UU concert series event, today's Anti-Racist Allies lunch outing, or the final bread listening session that is happening today after worship in room 301. Now, please rise in body or spirit to sing O Life That Maketh All Things New, number 12 in your gray hymnal.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley. My pronouns are she, her. I serve as your lead minister, and I am wearing a turquoise shirt and a green stole, and I have silver hair, and I'm in my early 60s just for a few more months. So very glad that you all braved the rain and the multitude of disturbances in the city that made it difficult. It took me about 25 minutes to do what's usually a 10-minute drive. That marathon, So happy to see you all. We gather on the stolen land of the Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, Erie, Shawnee, Delaware, and Cayuga people, many of whom were forcibly removed. We support the Native American Center of Central Ohio and their Land Back campaign, and we know that we have more to do to be in true relationship and solidarity with this land and those indigenous to it. We give thanks for this day and take this time to reflect on how we might live the gift of life more joyfully and consciously, to find within the habitual and routine new wonder, to discover within the fragments of our experience emerging form, to overcome the illusion of our separateness, and through sympathy and friendship be born into a larger self. For it is in our place as parts within a whole and participants in a greater being that our fear can be turned to acceptance, our confusion can be turned to faith, our pain can be turned to wisdom, and the life that seems poor and empty be made more generous, rich, and abundant. So let us enter into the spirit of worship. It is now time for our children to meet, who is it? Gus, Nikki and Amber in the back, to prepare to bring in the light. Everyone else, please turn to your neighbors and introduce yourselves and talk about why you chose to come out on this really dreary day. All right. It is now time for our children to bring in the light. Their fleeting ways. Our task is to carry their gifts with us into our mundane lives, to let them live inside so that we may share their glow with others who need their blessing. In this spirit, we light the chalice of our faith.
Thank you, Finn and Mom, for lighting our chalice this morning. Aren't grown-ups great when they're helpers? I am Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration, and my pronouns are she, they. I am a white femme millennial with wild and wonderful wavy hair. I'm wearing black and white overalls over a yellow Side with Love t-shirt. Today's story is called The Lady and the Spider, written by Faith McNulty and illustrated by Bob Marstall. This Reading Rainbow book is a favorite of mine, in part because I always thought that the lady looks a lot like my mom did when I was little. I'll show you what I mean. Here's a picture of me with my parents on my first birthday in 1987. On a summer day, in a lady's garden, a spider stood on a lettuce leaf. She looked about and saw hills of green and valleys of green and a cave between two leaves. Walking daintily on her 8 legs, she went inside. With the tips of her long front legs, she felt the sides and the ceiling and the floor. The cave suited her. It was a leafy den, just the right size. When night came, dew trickled into a hollow beside the spider's den. The moon rose and moths flew dizzily about the garden in search of each other. One saw moonlight shine in the pool and drowned in the water. In the morning, the spider found the moth in the pool and had a nice breakfast. Each day, the lady came to plant seeds, pull up weeds, and sprinkle water. She looked among the leaves for bugs who might eat her garden. Once, she saw the spider walking on a leaf, but paid no heed. She knew spiders do not eat lettuce. When the lady's footsteps shook the ground, the spider ran and hid. One day, her dress brushed the leaves around the spider's home, and the spider felt an earthquake. For many days, the lettuce grew bigger. Each day, the spider walked the leaves searching for food. When the sun was high, small flies with golden eyes sat quietly on the leaves, warming their wings and rubbing their hands together. They were the spider's lunch. Birds also dined in the garden, searching for bugs. One day, the spider was eating a large blue fly. A bird swooped down. Just in time, the spider saw its shadow. She leapt into her den, and the bird snatched the fly. As the days grew hot, the lady knew it was time to pick the lettuce. Each day, she came with a basket and a knife to cut some for her lunch. Each day, the lettuce that she picked was closer to where the spider lived. One day, the spider went out and walked down a green hill to her sparkling pond to see what might be for breakfast. Just at that moment, the lady came into the garden. She bent down, grasped the head of lettuce, and cut it off at the roots. She shook off the dew and put it into her basket. Of course, the lady had no idea that the spider was there. The spider dashed towards her den, but the lady's thumb had crushed it. The spider clung to the leaf while the whole world trembled around her. The lady carried the head of lettuce to her kitchen and laid it on the counter beside the sink. When her world became still, the spider walked about and tried to see with her 8 eyes. She tried to feel with the tips of her legs. She tried to think with her tiny brain. It was no use. The spider could not know that she had made her home in a lady's garden and that the lady intended to eat that lettuce for lunch. The lady bent over the sink. She picked up the lettuce, parted the leaves, and looked for bugs. She did not see the spider, crouched deep in a dark cranny between 2 leaves. The lady put the lettuce in the sink and turned on the water. It poured clean and cold over the leaves. Huge drops splashed around the spider. She was caught in an icy river. She lost her grip, spun in the stream, and was carried down and around by the surging water. The lady turned off the faucet. The water in the sink became calm, and the lettuce floated, rocking on tiny waves. Part was underwater and part above. The spider's front legs found the edge of a leaf, and with all her strength, she pulled herself up onto a cold, wet, leafy island. The spider walked about, waving her long front legs, searching for a dark, dry, safe place to hide. The lady looked down, and a tiny motion caught her eye. She saw a small spider, adrift on a raft of lettuce, trying to escape. The lady picked up the leaf with the spider clinging to it and opened the lid of the garbage pail. Just before the leaf dropped from her fingers, a thought crossed her mind. She looked again at the spider. The spider, searching for a place to hide, waved her legs. She waved and waved and waved. Looking closely, the lady saw things she had never noticed before. She saw how the spider's color matched the leaves. She saw the tiny dots that were her eyes. She saw how delicately she moved on her slender legs and how she waved and waved and waved. The lady thought, "Isn't it wonderful that a creature so small can live and love life, find food, and make a home, just like me?" The lady closed the lid of the garbage pail. Holding the leaf carefully, with the spider on board, she went to the garden. She bent over a head of lettuce and gently dropped the spider onto its leaves. "Good luck in your new home," said the lady, and walked back to the kitchen for lunch. The spider landed lightly in a sun-warmed, sweet-smelling valley. She sat still until she was warm and dry. Then she walked up a green hill and down a green hill, searching with the tips of her long front legs. Soon she found a nook just the right size. There she waited, safe and snug, waited for lunch, for the sun to set, and the moon to rise, and for her tiny, very important life to go on. The end. This story reminds us that we are each part of the web of life and that we can make a difference when we choose to be kind. Please remain seated with hands over your hearts as we sing "May I Be Light" to sing our beloved children back to their families and out to class.
May I be light in you, may you be light in me, in all our hearts, into our souls, let love abide. May I be love in you, may you be love in me, from this place out to the world for all time.
Good morning. My name is Laura Hartman. I am an overweight, middle-aged white woman with long, graying dark hair, and my pronouns are she, her. I serve as an assistant treasurer for First UU, and I'm a member of the Fund for Immigration Legal Assistance, or FILA committee. The other members of the committee are Reverend Dr. Teresa Cooley, Jan Phillips, Matt Hollander, and Dr. Dorothy Hassan. I'm not sure if she's here, but she is a member. Today is an exciting day for FILA. We are kicking off a crowdfunding campaign through the UUA's Faithify website. We are seeking to raise $50,000 to help us help immigrants in our community. And we are not asking you for money. What we are asking is that you share the campaign as widely as you can. especially with people who are not part of the First UU community. The campaign link can be shared by both text and email. You can use the QR code, which appears on the screen, in the online order of service, in the most recent Friday's news, and in the worship service announcement that went out this morning. This information will also be shared on all of our social media platforms. The video on the screen gives a glimpse into the importance of this campaign. Help us meet our fundraising goal. I will be available at a table in Beach Hall after the service. Please stop by. I will have brochures and copies of the QR code. Thank you.
Our Fund for Immigration Legal Assistance, shortened to FILA, helps our neighbors pay their immigration-related legal and medical expenses. The need is great. We believe that families must stay together. Immigration cases are expensive.
So in addition to funding actual legal assistance by paying a private attorney perhaps, FILA is helping out with paying people's filing fees, which have increased substantially recently.
And together with the FILA program, they were able to help me pay for a lawyer. It has allowed me to have a stable job and to take care of my daughters without fear of being arrested and take me away from them.
We are undertaking this campaign to increase our capacity to provide assistance. We are seeking to raise $50,000. In the past 6 weeks alone, we have dispersed over $10,000.
I want to say thank you, and please continue donating so that other families can have this peace of mind.
Please help us live out our values and keep families together.
Thank you so much, Jan, for your leadership of this important group. It's been a pleasure to be able to see the effect that our donations have made, and I'm hoping that we can have a much, much wider impact. Please do share that link so that we can ask others to invest in this important opportunity. And this is the 1-year anniversary of the way in which we've been distributing our green bags. So thank you so much. Oh, sorry, this way. Read and feed. Thank you so much for all the work that you do to help the families that are in need. And so we ask you to take the list and fill these bags with things that are helpful to people who are also immigrants and who are terrified to go to the grocery store or even to school or to their jobs because they're so afraid of getting captured. So this is such important work. We do so many good things in this congregation, so thank you for your generosity. And this month, our Share the Plate partner is Abortion Forward. To expand and to protect abortion access, Abortion Forward uses the political process to champion policy changes, mobilize activists and voters, and endorse and support elected officials working to protect bodily autonomy. Our healthcare, justice, and democracy and human rights focus groups worked with Abortion Forward to get signatures for the Reproductive Freedom Amendment that passed last fall. In addition to passing the basket, you can text to give, scan the QR code, or visit firstucolumbus.org/donate. Thank you for your generosity. is Barb Fiorini. If you have something on your mind or heart today and would like to share, she will be in Beach Hall after the service and be glad to listen. We have some joys and sorrows from our community to share, and there are 4 caring cards to sign, actually 3 caring cards to sign in Beach Hall after worship. We send our care and healing thoughts to Paisha Thomas, our equity and social justice student minister who had recent surgery. She's doing well. She was home after one night in the hospital, and we send our best healing thoughts to her. We also send our love and sympathy to Jan Phillips on the recent death of her dear mother. Peace to you and your family, Jan. And we send our sorrowful sympathy to the family of Thomas Purley, who died on October 2nd from complications from an accident when he was hit by an automobile and sustained spinal cord injuries. Tom had been a long-term member of our congregation and recently moved to Maine to be closer to his mother, Delene, and we shall miss him. And it is a pleasure this morning to share our chancel with our UUA regional staff person, Cassandra Montenegro. So happy to have you with us. Cassie led us in a workshop yesterday for religious exploration to kind of jumpstart a new understanding of what we want to achieve in our exploration classes. So thank you so much, Cassie, for being with us, and she will be sharing a prayer.
Spirit of life and love, today we gather amidst the rain, the troubles and the joys that it brings. We acknowledge how we came here and how we remain, remembering our ancestors, drawing in our children, our children's children, and those not yet come. May we continue to be together in faith, in non-faith, reaching for that deep and liberatory dreaming.
appropriate given the voices that were attempting to be heard yesterday throughout this country. Our reading this morning is from Ralph Waldo Emerson's Divinity School Address. Yourself, a newborn bard of the Holy Ghost, cast behind you all conformity and equate persons at first hand with deity. Look to it first and only, that fashion, custom, authority, pleasure, and money are nothing to you, are not bandages over your eyes that you cannot see, but live with the privilege of the immeasurable mind. When you meet a man or woman, be to him or her a divine person. Be to them thought and virtue. Let their timid aspirations find in you a friend. Let their trampled instincts be genially tempted out into your atmosphere. Let their doubts know that you have doubted, and their wonder feel that you have wondered. By trusting your own heart, you shall gain more confidence than other persons. For all our penny wisdom, for all our soul-destroying slavery to habit, it is not to be doubted that all persons have sublime thoughts, that all persons value the few real hours of life, that they love to be heard, they love to be caught up into the vision of principles. We mark with light in the memory the few interviews we've had in the dreary years of routine with souls that made our souls wiser, that spoke what we thought, that told us what we knew, that gave us leave to be what we are. Ralph Waldo Emerson. And now we're going to share in another, you may notice that we're learning some new hymns that come out of the virtual hymnal that the UUA has recently produced. So thank you so much for helping us learn these new hymns. No? Okay. All right, let's do something else. Let's just arbitrarily open the hymnal. Which one? Meditation on breathing? I'm sorry? 1011. Sure, 1011. In your teal hymnal. Return again. With Ralph Waldo Emerson, I'm sure he would have approved. I have spent the last 2 weekends with other congregations, other UU congregations on both sides of the country, one in California and one in North Carolina. Both of them are vital congregations trying to live out their mission in many of the ways that we do as well. Like us, they've both seen surges in visitors and new members, eager to find a community of souls who share an open-minded perspective and a desire to address the stark inequities of the world. It's exciting to see so many of our congregations growing in this way, and it occurs to me there are probably questions among these new folks, or even long-term folks, about what this thing called Unitarian Universalism is. If I had a nickel for every time someone asked me, what do Unitarian Universalists believe about ... I would be an incredibly wealthy woman. The answer is not very satisfying. It depends. Unitarian Universalism can be a challenging faith, for we're not based in creeds or dogmas. We cannot say this is what we all believe and that these are the rules for how to follow. In our Western culture, most religions are born out of a belief statement. And even when we reject that belief statement, we still often expect to have a belief statement to put in its place. We want to have some succinct summary of why we participate in this religious movement, and it's an understandable desire. But Unitarian Universalism comes at this religious question from a very different perspective. Instead of demanding that everyone believe alike, what we ask is that everyone take their beliefs seriously, and that we make those beliefs live and breathe in all aspects of our lives, not just what we affirm on Sunday morning. Historically, our tradition brings with it some tension about how we approach this question of the core of our faith. I believe it's a creative tension, but it is a tension nonetheless. On the one hand, both Unitarians and Universalists began with the belief in one God, the God that is within us and outside of us, that is a loving God, not a judging or damning God. On the other hand, as we've developed, we've embraced the idea that we cannot depend upon God to do our work in the world for us, that what is to be will come about only through our human efforts. And when we recognize that we as humans grow and change over time, and that our beliefs grow and change over time, and moreover, that we as humans cannot make any absolute claims on truth with a capital T, we're left to wonder if there is any core of belief that we can cling to. And so for a long time, Unitarian Universalists defined themselves by what they didn't believe. This is the definition I grew up with as a lifelong UU. We don't have to believe these things that make no sense to us. Growing up in the conservative environment in a small Texas town that I did, that kind of negative understanding sort of worked to reinforce my faith. I could say, no, that's not what I believe, and I knew that I had compatriots in not believing that. But as I've grown older, and I hope wiser, I've come to reject that negative way of thinking about belief because it implies that we have no beliefs whatsoever. But that still begs the question of what do we believe? We've begun to recognize that there is a different way to approach this question. Process theologian Henry Nelson Wyman helps us make sense of it this way, that there's a difference between belief and faith. Beliefs are those explanations about how life works, that grow and evolve over time. These beliefs can change as new evidence or new experiences make us see things differently. But faith is something different. Faith is an orientation of the Spirit, that essential need to affirm the creative good in the universe, a commitment to a humble recognition that our beliefs are partial, but that they help lead us toward the best within the reach of our human experience. Wyman put it this way: I am committed to what I believe can bring human life to the best it can attain. I'm not committed to my belief. My belief is merely the means by which I give my life's devotion to what transforms life toward the greatest good. So perhaps the better question is, what do we as Unitarian Universalists put our faith in? What is it that nurtures our faith? What do we give our life's devotion to? Unitarian Universalism then emerges as a process, a methodology, not a set of beliefs. But what does that methodology look like? What do we do to nurture a faithful approach to the creative good in the universe? I want to talk about some of the ways in which we try to do this as Unitarian Universalists, and then say a bit more about my personal beliefs that nurture my faith. So I'll start with worship. Sometimes UUs have difficulty with this word, as it implies a bowing down to something bigger. In traditional religions, this has meant that we must abase ourselves to a larger, controlling, judging God who watches everything that we do. But to me, the word worship derives from the root meaning of the word, to study that which is worthy. To study that which is worthy. This is not something that we often find time in our busy lives to do, to sit and to pause and recapture a sense of what is worthy, what is important, what is truly essential to leading lives of wholeness and fulfillment. It takes time and space to be able to do that, and regular worship allows us this opportunity. In her short story, I Stand Here Ironing, Tilly Olson wrote, "And when is there time to remember, to sift, to weigh, to estimate or total? I'll start and there will be an interruption and I will have to gather it all together again, or I will become engulfed with all I did or did not do, and what should have been and what cannot be helped." Communal worship allows us the space to do this recollection without getting lost too much in the shoulds and the oughts and the maybes. It allows us to learn from the wisdom of the scriptures of the world's religions. It allows us to lose ourselves in sacred music. It allows us to question in the figuratively supportive arms of a community of fellow questioners. Ideally, it helps point us toward that creative good which we all seek, and allows us to remember that we alone are not in control, but also that we are not alone, that we share a common journey. It is, I admit, a challenge sometimes to create worship for a UU congregation, given that there are so many beliefs and perspectives among us. How can I fully speak to all of these different perspectives? The answer is I can't. All I can do is speak to my own experience and beliefs in a way that I hope will invite you into the conversation and not exclude you. For the purpose is to find a common core among the diversity of our beliefs, not in spite of them. We must still affirm the unique gift that is you, as well as let you know that you are not alone. Which leads me to the second method of faith building that we use, rites of passage. Every religion and culture finds ways to ritually signify the important passages of life, birth, coming of age, choosing life partners, and ultimately recognizing our deaths. This is frankly one of the faith practices that I believe we as Unitarian Universalists do best. For when we recognize these passages of life, we recognize the unique person that is making this passage. When we honor new life among us, we dedicate ourselves to that new life and its infinite possibilities. We do not try to impose a path that life should follow. When our young people come of age, we ask them to articulate their beliefs, not to parrot something that we wish them to believe. When we choose a life partner, we ask what that relationship really means to those who are joining their lives together, and the ceremony reflects those values. And when we die, the person that we have been and what we have given to the world is honored, as well as the recognition that the contributions that the dead make to the living continues past the extinguishment of life. Because we do this kind of honoring of the individual in our rituals, I often get asked to do services for people who have no religious tradition to claim and who want their passages recognized for what it is. And sometimes I will do those services, but I have to tell you, when they're outside of our community, they tend to feel empty for me. This realization points me toward the third faith practice that we have, which is the affirmation of community. It is possible to worship alone. I often can come to a feeling of gratitude and sacredness of all that is around me in certain spiritual experiences. And it is possible to recognize certain life passages within small, select groups of family and friends. But over the years, I can tell you that it is so much more powerful to do these things in the context of a community that affirms and embraces and even challenges the person within. We have an innate need to know that we are not alone. My deceased colleague John Wolfe once said, "Since I first began to think for myself and to draw my own conclusions about religion, people have been telling me that I'm crazy because of what I believed. And here this morning, I found a whole church full of crazy people." We affirm community not just as a community of ourselves, as like-minded people, but we share recognition that there is a community beyond us. Hopefully, we recognize that we have an essential message to share, that individual beliefs should not divide us, that there is a common shared core of humanity that we must honor, as well as the different manifestations that humanity takes. We would call this the DEI of the religious life. So this has led us towards stands on social justice issues and to recognize that we must reach out our hands in partnership to those who have been oppressed, to nurture the gifts that everyone has to offer. A core part of our faith understanding that faith is not just what you do in the interior of your heart, but how your faith helps you act in compassion toward others. We've seen some of the ways in which this community acts in compassion toward others. How many of you attended one of the marches yesterday? Excellent. I wish I could have gone. How many of you felt inspired by your faith to attend the marches? Thank you. Thank you. We recognize that this sense of compassion toward others must start at the beginning of life and be nurtured lifelong. And so the last method of faith that I want to mention is our goal of religious exploration. Many people come to our congregations because they are seeking a way to educate their children about morality and compassion and a faithful way of being without imposing some catechism of beliefs that is only about rote memorization. I believe that we are born with an essential religious impulse within us. And one of the things we're trying to build upon with our religious exploration program is a way for children to engage that religious impulse from the inside out. Yesterday, over 25 of us attended the RE Jumpstart workshop, in which we talked about what is the goal of religious exploration. And I found it fascinating. We never once mentioned curriculum. We never mentioned once what concrete thing we wanted people to learn. Instead, we talked about what values we want to nurture in people of all ages. The value of learning how to self-regulate, to engage in restorative practices when we disagree, that we can give and receive comfort and still be loved even when we make mistakes. These are life skills and spiritual practices that I think could change the world if everyone engaged with them. So here we have some of the central methods of pursuing a faithful life as a Unitarian Universalist: to engage in communal worship that allows us space to contemplate what is most worthwhile in our lives, to conduct rites of passage that honor the individual and yet recognize the universality of experience, to place ourselves within a community of people that can nurture us as well as challenge us, to find our place among them, to recognize that community does not end at our doors and that we are connected to and responsible for creating a world of peace and justice, and to open ourselves to a lifelong process of reflection and learning about what is good and right and the nurturance of our spiritual lives. All of these methods require something of us that no other religious tradition does. It is quite rigorous. It asks that each of us become full participants in the process. One thing I can say to you when you walk in the doors of a Unitarian Universalist congregation is that nothing will be imposed upon you, but nothing will be handed to you either. When we say that we believe religion must be internalized to be truly life-giving, then we're also saying you must participate in that process of making this faith your own. For too long, we've mistakenly believed that we cannot say what we believe for fear of treading on one another's beliefs. But if we don't ever really work out what we believe in a positive way, and if my iPad didn't just die on me, and to make ourselves vulnerable in expressing it, we end up walling away our beliefs and making them into walls that separate us, rather than living springs that can nourish us. So I will end by telling you what I believe. I believe that all of us have the spark of divine life within us that is reflected as a unique gift that each of us have, that we have within us the capacity to do great good, as well as the capacity to do damage, and that we must continually work toward magnifying our light and moving our lives toward the good. That we need to remember that we are limited beings, that none of us is self-sufficient, that there are forces beyond ourselves that control our lives, but also, I believe, forces that can infuse us with energy, with purpose, with comfort. I choose to call this energy God. I believe that we have to nurture our relationship with that larger force and allow ourselves the space and time to live in concert with its powers and not to buy into material idolatries. That we're called not just to nurture ourselves and our own inner lives, but to act in the world to bring about a larger vision of justice than we have ever known, by recognizing and nurturing the divine spark within all people, despite our outward differences. So I hope this encourages you to share your beliefs and your faith with others, not to convert them, but to open a conversation about things that are of ultimate worth: faith, love, compassion, growth. I think that we all crave these conversations, especially in the midst of all that is so meaningless right now. Finding meaning leads us to finding peace. so may we live and find our being. Amen. And now let's join in our final hymn, which is in our hymnal, the gray hymnal, number 209.
Oh, come you longing, thirsty souls, drink freely from the spring. And come you weary, famished folk, and you're hungering. Why spend yourself on empty air? Why not be satisfied? For everywhere a feast is spread, that's always at our side. For as the raining snow above fall in vanity, but for this purpose water earth to feed humanity, so shall the word of spirit serve as seed within our loam, that we may bear so rich and yield as brings a harvest home. For we shall go in peace secure and leave in joy sublime. The hills outside will burst with song, the trees will clap in time. No more shall thorns and needles grow, the bay tree and the pine shall sigh for us the eternal name that makes the world a shrine.
Please take the hand of someone close to you or place your hand over your heart. As the individual paths of our lives call each of us back to our separate ways, let us remember we do not leave behind the spirit which brought us together, but instead carry it with us always, so that wherever we are led by truth and love, we may feel the support of our covenant and know that there is a community where we are always welcome. Amen. Oh, sorry. Chalice, do you mind extinguishing the chalice? This is just one of those services. So please join me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love.